好，刚不小心关麦了。那接下来的话，我们就是要把这个英文杂志的部分，就是因为段考会考这个部分，那有些地方像是克罗斯，他可能挖空会挖一些介系词之类的。那今天的话，我们因为之前已经把内容搞懂了，然后也确定说，也知道说他在讲什么。那接下来就是要把一些克罗斯他可能考出来的，就是把它卷出来，然后把它再复习一遍。对，那我们就从Unit 4开始。COVID-19 has greatly impacted many of the world's industries. Never has. 它屁有话。The travel and tourism sector suffers from such severe financial hardship. Some airlines are boosting revenue by getting creative with alternative ways to go on vacation. For example, several airlines have introduced a new phenomenon, flights to nowhere. On November 13, 2020, Thai Airways launched a special one-time-only flight that cruised over 99 second Buddhist sites in Thailand. The flight departed from Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport, flew over UNESCO heritage sites and Buddhist temples in 31 Thai provinces, and landed back in Bangkok 3 hours later. Passengers on flight received a special meal and a prayer book, and recited Buddhist mantras. During the flight, ticket features ranged from 5,600 to 9,400 NT dollars. In addition to this initiative,对，没念错。Thai Airways had found new sources of income by opening an airline-themed cafe and selling limited edition bags made of spare life belts. The airline has also been selling soul fritters at outlets around Bangkok, which brings in about 9.4 million NT dollars in monthly sales. Researchers at Purdue University School of Industrial Engineering in the US have turned a conventional sheet of paper into a simple keyboard. The invention was described in the December 2020 issue of the scientific journal Nanoenergy. Most electronic devices we use today are comprised of rigid materials like metal, plastic, and glass. Many researchers around the world are experimenting with paper-based electronics. As paper is low cost, plentiful, flexible, and light, it's not difficult to imagine that this could eventually lead to more affordable electronic products. The Purdue team's device is the first to be powered by the user's touch rather than batteries. It's also the first to have a water and dust repellent chemical coating. Circuits under the paper detect pressure when a key is tapped, and this generates enough power to send the signal to a nearby computer. In the future, paper electronics could be useful as safety sensors on food packages or to confirm genuine currency. This innovation could lead to interactive paper like that we can use like today's electronic touch screens. 好，那这边应该没什么问题了。 然后这是第5篇对，其实我自己还有其他的东西要自己念啊，有些东西其实不太适合拿上来这种直播来念。It's hard to imagine anything so vast. It's hard to imagine anything so vast in number as the tiny particles of sand that cover much of Earth. Cover much of Earth. It's even harder to conceive that we could ever run out of them. But in a way, that now seems to be a possibility. Sand has long been an invaluable resource with diverse applications. But in recent years, demand for it has skyrocketed with disastrous consequences around the world. Sand mining has become synonymous with not only environmental devastation but also corruption and violence. Not only, but also. What exactly has led to this distressing turn of events? It's mainly our need for concrete. As the human population has shut up over the last century, so has urban construction, which explodes enormous quantities of sand as a raw material in construction, which in concrete and urban construction, which explodes enormous quantities of sand as a raw material in concrete and other industrial materials. While it might seem that we could utilize the less expensive of sandy desert for this objective, desert sand grains as too round and smooth to stick together in ways that needed for construction purposes. Thus, sand eroded by water, not wind, is our most viable option. All told, the world uses 50 billion tons of this type of sand every year. That's more than enough to cover the entire UK. All told. The global sand mining industry has become such a lucrative trade that it's even attracted criminal gangs who illegally grab entire beaches and riverbanks in a quest for profit. They've left human victims in their wake as well. Many would-be whistleblowers have been intimidated, assaulted, and even murdered. Unlawful sand mining has also caused bridge collapse in Taiwan and Portugal, the latter of which killed 70 people. This is today say nothing of the numerous lives, both human and animal, that are in peril due to environmental destruction. Uncontrolled sand mining has dreadful effects on the environment. Stacking sand from riverbeds destroys the habitats of bottom-dwelling creatures. The sediment stirred up in the process can also suffocate fish and block out sunlight that underwater plants need, as well as threatening the wildlife found in rivers. This process has also caused significant harm to entire communities of people. The Mango Delta, an area covered by a network of river systems in southern Vietnam, is home to 20 million people and supplies much of Southeast Asia's rice. Around 800 species of fish and endangered Irrawaddy dolphin also live there, but its environment is eroding away, with the riverbed having lowered in elevation by 1.4 meters in a mere decade. This is partly due to sand mining occurring upriver. The delta depends on sediment flowing down. From Central Asia to replenish its riverbeds each year, but sand mining is depriving the area of these deposits. As a result, erosion is causing riverbanks to collapse, dragging farmland and residences down with them. Researchers say that half the delta's land will likely be gone by the end of the century if the situation isn't resolved. Fortunately, the industries where sand is used the most are working to create solutions to this critical issue. Researchers in the UK have made a new building material called Finite by reshaping desert sand grains. It has half the carbon footprint of normal concrete and is even biodegradable. So researchers are looking to grind down and recycle old concrete to use in new construction, while others are experimenting with sand alternatives such as ash, plastic, or crushed palm shells and rice husks. But even with these new innovations, it will likely take substantial effort to curb the demand for sand. Do you ever feel like you're watching life pass by instead of living it? Do you struggle to express your emotions or to understand what you're feeling at all? If you answer the two questions with yes, you may be suffering emotional numbness, a state in which people detach themselves from their feelings and the world around them. 然后就去喝水。 Contrary to what one might expect, emotionally sensitive people are more likely to develop these reactions, which start as a defense against situations such as rejection, abandonment, or abuse. Instead of experiencing a fight or flight response during times of physical or emotional trauma, these individuals develop an instinct to detach their senses from their surroundings and circumstances. Unfortunately, this emotional numbness may linger long after painful situations have passed. In fact, whether it is conscious or not, this detachment can become a habit. A person begins to feel emptiness in place of not only pain but also joy. Moreover, with so many emotions bottled up, they are more likely to erupt with rage over minor issues. Luckily, there are ways to transform these patterns so that someone can once again more fully experience life. The first step is to let go of self-judgment. Instead of shaming themselves for this response, those who experiencing this should remember that their emotional numbness began as a useful survival technique. Next, those who routinely disconnect should picture their detachment as a shield, appreciating its protection while also acknowledging that they are strong enough to lower it. Rather than serving as a destructive force, the shield can be a practical tool they choose to use or not. In this way, controlling emotional detachment can become a technique that helps sensitive people recover the power to feel fully alive. 这一篇应该还好。哇，念得还蛮快的。联动墙，香港的联动墙。Music stirs people's heart.严厉。This can be seen in the importance of national anthems and protest songs, and the obsessions people develop with not just their favorite songs, but also the musicians who create them. There are many ways in which this attitude can be displayed, but one particularly potent and positive manifestation can be found in Prague, the capital of what's now the Czech Republic. John Lennon, a founding member of legendary band The Beatles, was famous as a musician. 那多话了。However, he often also spoke of his dedication to peace and freedom, and this appealed to the youth of Prague. The restrictions imposed by the leadership of their then communist country left them disconnected, and when John Lennon was assassinated in 1980, they painted a wall with highlights from his songs and speeches. Though the government attempted to curtail this expression of political opinion and often painted over the art and words on walls, the people of Prague persist in their dissent. Today, in the democratic Czech Republic, the Lennon World is a famous destination for tourists, artists, music lovers, and dreamers. 每天花多少时间复习的不一定诶，有时候可能只花，就照理来说应该花1到4个小时啊，看情况。还有看当天的行程的安排，有时候可能会花比较多时间，可能在做写功课这类的东西。The Lennon World of Prague has inspired similar works in other countries. In 2014, anonymous protesters taking part in umbrella movement for autonomy and democracy in Hong Kong covered a wall with colorful sticky notes. And these sticky notes were all sorts of political messages. Although most notes supported the protests, even those that disagreed with the movement were left undisturbed. As a new wave of protests rose in Hong Kong in 2019, this kind of walls again blossomed, even spreading outside the borders of the city. Lennon were made in the Hong Kong sticky note style aroused in places as distant as Seattle, San Francisco, and Taipei. These walls illustrate the dream of democracy, the voice of the people, not always unified, but always present in the public view. 哇，对于某些人来讲，这样算是蛮认真的复习啦。对，但是就看能做到多好。对，因为之前的某些做法其实成效不彰啊，这是基督山恩仇记真没有啊，考太长了。再来最后一篇。A walk through a park or a well-groomed garden is a great chance to appreciate some beautiful flowers. Well, this is 等下不行，我这要填上去，看好烦，一定要填上去的啊，这样不方便阅读诶。Conventionally. Vital. Unfold. Good as they sometimes smell. Good as they sometimes smell. 不是 it. While this is conventionally a daytime activity, you might be surprised to hear that certain flowers' beauty can also be admired at night. In fact, some flowers only ever bloom in the dark. To understand why a flower would open its petals after the sun goes down, we must recall why flowers bloom at all. Plants have flowers in order to entice insects to visit them. These insects carry pollen around, which is vital to the plant's life cycles. However, there's a lot of competition for the attention of insects that are active during the day. Some plants unfold at night in order to be visited by nocturnal insects. Must go from flowers to flower and transfer pollen while they feed. Other nighttime visitors include ants and beetles. One example of a night blooming flower is the moonflower. These large white blossoms open at night and get their name from being compared to the full moon overhead. God, as they sometimes smell, they're poisonous and should be avoided. Around the world, water lilies of different species bloom at night. In the Himalayas, the spectacular carmine flower blooms for just one sole night each year. It is more difficult to see these extraordinary flowers, but it can be well worth it. Next time you walk around in nature, ask yourself whether the plants you see might erupt with color in the middle of the night. 念完了。这种东西真的看越多遍就越熟。对，虽然说划线的还是一堆，就是还是有要注意的地方啦。对，那因为英文是后天才考，所以其实明天还有排一天的念英文的时间。那基本上的话，这一边的英文应该说今天的要弄的就差不多到这边结束了。然后因为明天要有好的考试状态，我也差不多该睡了。对，那也希望说大家都可以赶快去睡觉。好，那我们今天就差不多到这边结束喽。如果你喜欢我的影片的话，可以订阅、按赞、分享、加开小铃铛。那我们就下一次再见喽，应该说明天啊，拜拜。